Hello, anyone that's listening. I'm Azria. What's your name?
I'm Candace. I'm Azria's mom.
For a timestamp, today is Tuesday, May 19th. We're just doing this interview podcast about coronavirus.
Trying to record for posterity's sake
Yeah.
what some different people's experiences with this have been.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a really cool idea for an assignment.
Yeah.
I hope that your teacher has a lot of fun listening to these.
Me too. If
I don't know if they're fun necessarily, but I hope they are
probably
interesting.
Not fun, but hopefully at least educational in some way.
Yeah.
What's your job?
So I am a funeral director and embalmer. I work at a funeral home that has two different locations. We've got one in Hamburg and one in West Seneca, just a couple blocks away from our house here. So it's been a pretty interesting couple of months in the funeral business. It's weird being close enough to New York City that we're kind of in the shadow of the worst hit area in the world. And a lot of the new policies and things that have come down that have been directly aimed at responding to the crisis in New York City have affected us here as well.
So, you're funeral director, embalmer. What's your experience been like during all of this with that?
So, I've been pretty thankful that my boss has been one of the funeral directors that has taken this pretty seriously and has been a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of implementing new policies and procedures, trying to keep our employees safe, and trying to obtain PPE for us, which is an ongoing battle. I'm also the OSHA coordinator at work, so part of my job responsibilities over the last few months has been implementing cleaning schedules and different kinds of policies like that in order to keep our staff and our guests safe. We've been staggering our staff at work, trying to keep everybody from being in the office at the same time because we've got a pretty small office. Thankfully, we also have a pretty small staff, so it's easy to do. We've got 4 licensed funeral directors, and we've got 2 of them right now meeting with families and taking out funerals. 2 of us are mostly working from home, and I am working primarily on the back end of things, taking care of the people who have passed away that have been entrusted to us. So I do all of our embalming, cosmetics, taking people to the crematory, everything like that. And so hopefully if one of us does get sick, that'll prevent us from spreading it around our office because we're a pretty small business and having any percentage of our staff get sick would be pretty devastating to us. But if more than one of us got it, it would be definitely a very rough time.
Yeah. How has the coronavirus affected everything that you do at work, like funerals, everything else with the public?
Yeah, it's been pretty tough. So normally we usually have families come into the funeral home so that they can, plan their funeral. We help them write up the death notice, fill out paperwork, pick songs and caskets and, all the stuff that goes into planning a funeral. We're doing most of that now over the phone and through Zoom and stuff like that, and sending them all the documents, digitally via DocuSign and stuff like that. But of course, they still have to come in for the funeral itself. We all are still having funerals, but we're very limited in how many people can attend them, which has been a really difficult thing for us to try to manage. Technically, only immediate family is allowed to attend the funeral, and we don't have a strict 10-person limit, but we have to limit it to as many people as we can fit in the funeral home while maintaining social distance. And really, reasonably, that's, 15 to 20 people probably.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of people that have, 10, 11 kids.
Yeah, so that's like already pushing it.
Yeah, it's tough. And of course, when you get the kids' spouses and then the grandkids involved, then, it quickly gets to be a lot of people. So it's been a little tough to try to enforce that and try to tell people that they can't come and see their grandpa or grandma, especially for people who have the virus and passed away in a hospital. Their families aren't really able to go and visit them in the hospital right now, as they enter their last days either. So for them to also not be able to come and pay their respects to the funeral home, it's really tough for people. But we're trying to make allowances where we can, and even if we have to have separate visitation hours so that we can have these 10 people come for this time and, have a separate time slot for these 10 people over here, then we can do that, or we can, video them in with Zoom or something. Mm. We're trying to do what we can, but it's definitely difficult. It's pretty tough. Like I said, I haven't really been working too much on that end of things. I'm still making the phone arrangements and stuff with some families, but I haven't really been taking any funerals when avoidable. So I'm just taking care of embalming and dressing and getting everybody ready for those funerals.
You can keep going about work if you want to, but what's your experience with this been like, work, out of work?
Oh, I'm still working, but I'm working from home a lot more.
Yeah.
And just going into the office when, we have somebody that needs to be taken care of. So that part of it's been a little bit challenging. Typically, I do most of our embalming anyways, but of course now there's special considerations in handling the remains of people that have been infected, especially when we can't get appropriate PPE. We've got a little bit on hand, but we're running pretty low, and I've been reusing masks and stuff, but I don't feel uncomfortable doing that still because human remains are generally less infectious than living people. So really the funeral directors that are doing the funerals and everything are probably at a higher risk, just like healthcare workers and everything. I worry more about the families of people that have died from coronavirus. Their families also have probably been around them and have been exposed and may still be carrying it when they come into the funeral home.
So outside of work, like not work-related things, even though I know you've been very busy with that, what's your experience been like?
Honestly, outside of work, it
Yeah.
hasn't changed a whole lot. I don't really have, we don't have many family or friends or anything here anyways, because we've only lived here a few years. And I was, my work schedule is pretty demanding normally. It's not uncommon for me to work 60 or 70 hours a week before all this. So I don't have a thriving social life that is now suffering because of the coronavirus. And we're still able to go to most of our favorite restaurants and at least get takeout, which is what I preferred doing anyways, because I'm a little bit of a homebody. So yeah, really, having the dog park closed down has been probably one of the bigger ways that my life has been impacted as far as my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So I feel pretty lucky in that. I know a lot of people's lives have been severely impacted, but I'm still working. My husband's still working. You're sitting at home bored most of the time, but otherwise safe.
Yeah, pretty much.
I am.
During quarantine and all of that, what has been the most surprising thing you've seen, heard?
There's a few things. I've been both surprised and disappointed at the way some people have handled this. It's also been nice to see how much human ingenuity is driven by catastrophe. I think that's a common thread if you're, if you look into history at all. I know you're not a fan of history, but...
there are some of it that is interesting, but I get what you mean, definitely.
I think you get more and more interested in it as you get older. I used to hate history too, but...
They make it so boring.
They do.
They just get some dude to, drone on about it for multiple hours.
Yeah. But yeah, the more life experience you have, the more you realize how much your life experience is impacted by historical events, and I think that makes it more personal, which makes it more interesting. Mm-hmm. But I think that the common thing throughout human history is that human creativity and human ingenuity has always been driven by unfortunate events, really, more than any other thing.
Seems like it.
Of course, when we're allowed to flourish, we're created creative in other ways, but
Yeah. Just different kinds of creativity. It
Yeah.
seems more, not productive when there's a crisis, but
yeah,
more serious, I guess.
yeah.
I guess it also probably goes along with the most uplifting thing you've seen, just people being able to figure things out, I guess.
Yeah, especially when it comes to science and how the science community has responded to this disaster. It's been very uplifting to me to see how at least the majority of people are paying more attention to science.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's been a distrust of science in the general population, I think, for a lot of years, but I think it's starting to change now as people realize how valuable science really is and what scientific research and exploration can really do for humanity. So it's been good to see, the funding that is being made available for vaccine development and research into this disease and what we can do to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Also, on a much lighter note, one of the things that's been very uplifting to me is seeing everybody's pets and children interrupt their phone calls and web
Yeah.
web interviews
Yeah,
during their work at home.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of which,
As our dog chugs water in the background.
it chugs an entire gallon of water.
Yeah, our cats have been routinely running across the keyboard when I'm trying to make funeral arrangements with people from home, so.
This is our take 3 of this.
Yeah.
The cats ruined the other one.
Yeah, rattling their food bowls around like they hadn't been fed an hour before we started recording.
So, I mean, yeah, that is actually one of the most positive things I've seen, too. Like,
It's actually very humanizing.
it is, isn't it?
Everything's just so sterile when they're, podcasts and news briefs and stuff are recorded in studios. I really like seeing people's pets and kids interrupt
same.
them.
I know, it makes it funner.
Yeah.
What's something you're looking forward to?
I'm very much looking forward to being able to reschedule my family's flights out here.
Yeah, definitely.
My mom and my sister, her husband, their son, my nephew, and 2 of my brothers were supposed to come visit us over Easter break, and I was really looking forward to it. I haven't been able to see them in 2 years now because they all live in California, and I usually try to make it out there every summer to visit them, but I wasn't able to go last summer because, we were short-staffed at work, and it just didn't work out that way. And none of them have ever been out here, and I was really looking forward to making Easter baskets for you and Xander, and being able to show everyone all the things that I've fallen in love with about Buffalo, because there's a lot here that I think even Buffalonians don't really appreciate. But coming from California, where it's dead and dry and everything's on fire all the time, the scenery here is absolutely gorgeous, and
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff here that I don't think I'd have ever been able to see in California.
Yeah, I miss the mountains. I miss the river that we grew up on, but I think everyone will appreciate the beauty of this area even more than a lot of people from here do. So I'm looking forward to being able to get them out here and show it to them.
Yeah. Well, since we're stuck inside, is there anything you've been able to enjoy, at least right now?
Just little changes to our day-to-day lives that are actually beneficial right now. I like not having to wake up at 6 a.m. to take you to school.
Oh, same.
Of course, that comes with a price, though. I feel bad that all the kids are out of school, especially the graduating classes and everything.
Yeah, definitely. Some of my friends are seniors, and they're super sad about this right now.
It sucks. There's so many things that are being just completely robbed of people's, growing experiences.
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to taking you to your first concert.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to see Green Day in August. And I was really looking forward to that because music was so important to me as a teenager and a young adult. And you've never been as into music as I was, but for you to fall in love with a band that I also loved in high school that still happens to be around making music and touring.
Yeah.
It was kind of exciting, and I was really looking forward to taking you to that. So that's another thing I'm looking forward to is being able to go back to concerts.
Mm-hmm.
But But for the time being, as far as silver linings go, I like the not waking up super early.
Yeah, me too. I'm kind of hoping that everyone at the school district, like working in the school district, appreciates their time off right now. Is like, oh, I guess we should make later starts a thing. It's not going to happen, but I'm
Yeah, I wish they would.
Right? God, I don't want to wake up at 6 a.m. That's too early.
It's,
for any braining.
It's very early, especially for teenagers.
Yeah, and then they're like, you're teenagers, you should be full of life. It's like, we're full of life at 11 a.m. I'm sorry. Not 6 a.m.
Well, and all the science shows that later starts are actually beneficial for learning. So
I know.
It's weird that they haven't gotten on board with that yet.
I mean, everyone says that homework's not... Okay, well, maybe don't talk about that on the podcast.
That's a separate tangent. But yeah, my sleep schedule has been completely out of whack. I've just been staying up until like 2 a.m. I'm starting to get a little better at it now. I think I'm back to going to bed about 11.
Oh, my sleep schedule just keeps on going down.
Yeah. No, as we start to reopen and go back to normal a little bit, I have to start, at least considering going to work at a more reasonable hour. My schedule's been kind of flexible, as long as I get in and get everybody ready for their funerals. I don't really have to report at a certain time because I'm mostly working from home and can do so in my pajamas. But, yeah, as we go back to normal, I'm going to have to start adopting a more regular schedule. So I'm trying to kind of do that now.
Yeah. You have any questions for me?
What's your experience been like? I mean, just like mental health wise, how are you holding up?
Oh, not too bad, honestly.
No?
No. Being cooped up isn't great for anyone, but...
Yeah. I feel bad sometimes. I'm thankful that we're both still working, but I feel bad that we have to, leave you at home to just sit here and be bored by yourself most of the time.
I'm used to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's better or worse.
I got you many cats to keep you company.
Thank you. I appreciate the cats, all of them, all 4 of them. I'm kind of thankful for this in a way because school causes me so much anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's nice not to have to deal with that, It's a nice breather.
Yeah. That's one thing. I don't really know how much long-term this is going to change everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that we can start to, look at the way that we've done some things and,
try and improve upon it.
Yeah, and explore whether or not that's really the best option. There's a lot of kids that are just unable to go to school for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
And it's always been something that has affected their grades. I've known kids that were on chemotherapy that, their teachers tried, but the system just really isn't set up to accommodate kids
Really?
to do distance learning or anything like that. So
that would be interesting if they could maybe improve upon that after all of this.
Yeah, I know one of my old coworkers' kids ended up repeating a grade because she spent a lot of time in the hospital and there just wasn't really the systems in place to try to accommodate her learning,
Jeez.
from there. So, yeah, and you with your, much less serious condition, but when you get your migraines and stuff,
oh, yeah.
It's been a problem with you missing a little bit of school, and even that little bit has been enough to affect your grades at times. So it really would be great if we could find ways to make distance learning and, working from home a more permanent part of all of our lives going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Any tips? Or just last words?
I don't know. I feel like I have so many thoughts sometimes, but they're also hard to put into words. Willow said it for me. I don't know. There's a lot to be thankful about. I really hope if there's one thing that we all take away from this, it's just not to take things for granted. I think we live in an exceptionally privileged time where most of us don't really ever have to face starvation, famine, war, most of those things, at least here in the U.S., have kind of been removed from, being a part of our psyche like they have been for most of human history.
Yeah.
And I think this is a reminder that those things are always present, and there's always, a possible catastrophe looming. So we really need to appreciate what we're given and appreciate each other and not ever take tomorrow for granted.
Whoa, that's deep.
Way to ruin it.
Sorry. That's what I do.
Yeah, it's okay. We need a little bit of levity.
That's all I'm good for.
You are the comic relief of the family, that's for sure.
Yeah, thank you. I know, I'm very funny.
I'm so funny.
So funny.
Do you have any last words? More questions?
I really don't think so.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, thanks for the interview.
Thank you. Stay safe. Wash your hands. All that jazz.
Yep.